Hey, how's it going? So, very important thing about skates is that they operate safely and correctly. Oh, and if you miss this video, we're going to record it and play it or post it later on our page as well. Um, anyway, trucks. I'm just going to talk about trucks today and how to set them up for optimal performance, and so that you don't hurt yourself or hurt your skates. So the parts of the trucks. So in order to see the trucks, we'll take the wheels off, just simply.
I'm going to zoom in here for
I'll use this tool to take them off. And I usually have a tray. Here, so I can put the parts in, so I don't lose nuts or washers or spacers or anything. One of your bearings fell out. Anyway, so major components of your trucks are clearly your trucks themselves, the kingpin, the cushions, the cushion cups, and the pivot cup.
And where's that pivot cup? Let's get right
So
in
that
there.
pivot cup you can see on these ones because it's white in color, set against the black of the aluminum. So the pivot cup is where the pivot pin goes, and I'll show you that in a minute.
So these are not the original plates on these skates.
Right, yeah, we changed these plates out, and I left big gaping holes in the bottom of the skates.
It's because they're my skates. You don't care.
But they're not going to get wet, and I did fill them with silicone on the other side.
You're forgiven.
Anyway. So, anyway, to do a proper inspection, like if I take a look at this, and I hold this against my body, and I kind of rock that back and forth, that's kind of where you want them set up. Now I'm putting maybe 20-25 pounds of pressure on here. Just think of your body up against this. So a person like me that weighs 200 and some odd pounds, I'm going to be putting all my weight, say, on this one skate and lean over to the one side. That's like 100 pounds an axle that has to support. So it's important that we have good cushions that are pliable. You don't want like really hard cushions unless cushions can be used in different ways. If you want more action, it all depends on weight and what you want to do with your skates. If you want to be very stable, you still want to have some flexibility in your cushions, but you may want to go with a harder cushion. If you want a ton of flexibility, then you want to go with a softer cushion, and it's kind of that easy. It all does depend on weight though, because if a 100-pound person puts the same weight on that same cushion, it's going to be less stress or less pressure on the axle, right? So it's not going to flex as much. So if I had like a very hard cushion, say in the 92 durometer range, then I'm not going to move this axle as much as I would if I had one in like an 84 durometer range.
So how tight do you screw them down?
Okay,
like, let's look at that side view.
Yeah, so there's no wiggle in here. Like it doesn't, like if I go like this, it doesn't move it. The cushions should be seated properly in everywhere they should be seated. So in each of the cushion cups, as well as the retainer here, I guess you could call it, on the truck itself.
Okay.
So this nut, so this is the kingpin and the nut. It's a locking type nut, so it's got nylon on it. If you can move this with your fingers, it needs to be replaced, because that could wiggle itself off. If you can move with your fingers, it's not doing its job. I can move this with my fingers up here because the nylon is up near the top of the nut.
If you want to put that down, I can zoom in on the nut. So what we're looking for is...
So there's nylon inside this this nut, and it kind of resides itself.
Oh, you lifted it up on me.
Sorry. It kind of resides itself in that rounded area at the top here.
I see.
So the thread part is only really...
Can you show me the inside of that?
Right.
Okay.
So the actual metal thread only goes about halfway up here.
Okay.
And the rest of it is nylon.
Oh yeah, you can see it right in there.
Right. So the nylon helps it to stick on the kingpin, and it's the same with these ones. You can't really see the nylon very well in the black nuts. But it's the nylon that actually holds it onto the axle.
Right.
That's why they don't fly off when your wheels are spinning.
Ah.
Right. So to take this part here, I've taken the nut off. I'm going to take off the top cushion retainer.
Okay.
Next cushion.
Well, I should probably stay right there. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to put them all kind of in order.
And what kind of cushions do I have in mind? Because these ones look different.
They are purple.
Like
I would have to look.
They're purple.
I'd
It's
have
like
to
a
look and
nice
see
car.
what they are.
Well, I mean like the shape of them. I'm talking about
so that's
specifically.
So that's a conical cushion.
A conical cushion. Okay, and why do I have these ones instead of those just barrel ones?
Instead of barrel ones?
Yeah.
That's the design of the plate.
Okay. So when you're buying new cushions, you have to make sure you know the make, brand, whatever of the plate on your skates. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
And so yeah, this one here is the barrel cushion, and then this one's the conical cushion.
Different manufacturers use different technologies too, and probably even different rubber.
And what kind of plates do we have on here?
So these are DA45s. They're Avenger plates, sure grip.
Okay, can you hold it still for me?
Yeah, I'll put it down.
Perfect.
That's probably stiller than my hand.
That's right. Okay. And that 45 right there, what does that mean?
That is the angle of the kingpin.
Okay. Is that normal?
It depends on the plate.
No, I mean like, is it normal to have a 45-degree angle plate? What do most people have?
Most people have between 10 degrees and probably 20 degrees.
Okay. And is there any benefit to having
45-degree angle?
45 as opposed to 10? I guess it's supposing
it's trucks to plates.
No, okay. I didn't mean it. Sorry. Well,
right.
I was just wondering because it all affects the trucks, does it not?
Sure. Yeah, the trucks are on a different angle, right? So on a 45-degree angle plate, you're going to get a lot more turn. So your wheels are actually going to turn in more when you lean or turn out.
Okay.
Right? Because you have a different angle. So it's going to rock a little more than, say, a 10-degree plate, which these are. So those are a 10-degree plate. You can see the kingpins are almost straight up from the plate.
I see.
So that's a 10-degree plate. And that one's a 45, and you can see there's 90 degrees in between these two kingpins. So that's going to give you a lot more, you're going to be a lot more agile on your skates, but you got to be careful because they'll like really turn inwards, right?
That explains some falls that I've had.
Anyway.
Okay, so back to the trucks.
So that's that.
My fault. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So we take it fully apart. You can see here, this one has an adjustable pivot pin. So to adjust the pivot pin, you loosen off the nuts, which I can do. I can show you now. I have this handy little tool that's supposed to fit, but may not. And it's actually easier to do it when it's on there, so maybe I'll do it when I put it back on.
Okay.
Okay, so we want to inspect the kingpin. Take a look at it. It looks straight and none of the threads are screwed up. You know, the nut came off easy. It looks like it's in good condition, like it's not bent in any direction or anything like that. Cool. Take a look at the cushions. Make sure they're not cracked or squished out. So I've got an old pair of rentals here, and I'll show you what squished out looks like. So a lot of these I've actually loosened off, but before I had them, and when we did buy them, these ones are different to loosen off too. And I'm going to show you these ones after. So when we first bought them, we bought them used, and they were cranked right down, and they were cranked down so far that the outside of the cushion here actually bows out like like squished rubber, and that's exactly what it is. And after a while, it just retains that shape, and cushions get really hard after a while. So they should be changed if they're not performing as they should. Anyway, so we want to inspect all the parts. You want to look at the cushion retainers, right?
Yep.
Make sure they're cool, not bent or broken or anything like that. Then we can put it back together again.
What's the best way to remember how it goes back on?
Put it away, like take it apart in the opposite direction. Like when you're, so I've taken the nut off, so I put the nut in there, and then the next part, and then the next part. And I know that this goes in the middle of those parts. So if you look at it, I put it in the tray with the nut, and then that cushion retainer, that cushion, then the truck always goes in the middle of the two cushions.
So why didn't you take that part off at the same time as the other?
Well, I'll do one at a time.
I guess that's another good way of making sure
then
that it goes back.
Parts sitting around, right?
Right,
yeah.
right.
So you want to take a look as well inside here, just before I put it back together. I got sidetracked, as I usually always do when I talk.
Squirrel.
Look inside here at the pivot cup and make sure it's not cracked or broken or worn too much. Like if it's worn too much, you're definitely going to see that. You're going to see like worn out edges and things like that. And if it's not put in there properly as well, like if it isn't adjusted properly, you can pop out like the ends and all sorts of stuff. Anyway, have a look at it. Just make sure it's in good condition, and then you're good to go. If not, replacements aren't much money, like a couple of bucks a piece or whatever, depending on which cushion it is.
So are there different pivot cups for different plates then?
Yeah, every plate pretty well has a different pivot cup. There's some similarities in some plates, but you know, every manufacturer has a different kind of pivot cup, and lots of manufacturers make lots of plates, and each plate may have a different pivot cup from the next. So
that's annoying.
It's kind of annoying, yes. But we can get practically any pivot cup on the market anyway. So if you have a pivot cup issue, just let us know, and we can see either if we have it or we can get it for you. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll put it back together in the same way that I took it apart. I'm going to put this together loosely just for now. And always start this off with your hand. Like you don't want to put it into a machine or like a drill or whatever and just go, wah, because you might cross thread it and that'll ruin your kingpin. And you'll either have to re-thread it or probably buy a new one. Okay, so at this point, so see how wiggly that is?
Clearly, I've seen that before.
What's that?
I've seen that before on people's skates.
Yeah, some people like their skates like this, right?
Well, is that a good thing?
No, it's not a good thing, because look at also, so you see there's a little bit of action even inside that pivot cup, right? Mm-hmm. It's going up and down and it's moving back and forth and all sorts of stuff, right? So it's not, probably the first thing to go in this scenario is your pivot cup. You'll probably destroy your pivot cup. And then without a pivot cup in there, your truck's going to bounce around like crazy. You might not notice it at first, which is why you should actually probably do a visual inspection of your skates almost every time you go skating. Just to kind of, you know, make sure all the wheels are rolling properly, make sure all your cushions are intact and the nuts are still on your wheels and the pivot cup's still there. Because what could happen is if you leave it over time and you do forget, you could wreck your plate, really, or you could wreck your trucks as well. So this is not a good thing for your skates. If you want a lot more action in your skates, and this is the reason why you're doing this, then you have the wrong cushions. So you should have way softer cushions. But I'll show you how snug this should be. So that's still not snug enough. And that's good. So there's no movement there. Like there's no, how can I explain it? It doesn't just rock back and forth. Like there's contact between the cushions and where they should sit on the inside of the trucks. So there should be contact directly around like both surfaces so that there is no wiggle and there's no like up and down of the pivot pin either. So with these you can adjust a little bit, slightly. You could probably adjust it down a little bit more. I would also recommend to always make sure that this nylon ring is like completely on the threads on the kingpin. Because if you leave it kind of half off, then it's only doing half the job, right? If that's the case, your cushions are probably too big for your kingpin. Or it may not be manufacturer's recommended cushion for that plate. All right, so that's got full contact there. We've got the nylon completely onto the kingpin threads. We've got full contact. We've still got flexibility. You know, this is me just putting my arm strength into it, right? I'm not that strong.
That's baloney.
But it does move. And it's rocking about, actually, a little bit inside. It's kind of hard to see.
I'm going to zoom right in. So if you stay nice and still for me, I'll zoom. Where do you want me to zoom into?
Just into here.
Okay.
So can you see there's like a little bit of movement there?
Oh yeah. So do you have to like unscrew that a bit?
So yeah, so we'll loosen it off a bit. So to do that, I'm gonna go I have to loosen off the lock nut a bit.
That's the part you were trying to loosen off when the truck was off of the plate, right?
That's right, but it was easier on here.
Right.
And then I'm gonna do probably about a half a turn. There's still a bit of movement there. So what I want to do is I want to lower this down until basically it is sitting like nicely inside the pivot cup.
So it's not squishing the pivot cup up against the inside of the truck. I mean, inside of the plate, sorry.
Right. Whereas before it had maybe 1/8 of an inch of movement up and down. Now it's not moving.
Perfect.
Right. And even so, the purpose of the pivot cup is to provide kind of a place for the bottom of the pin. So if I look at, I don't know, how can I explain this better? So if I say, let's say this is the metal on the inside of the plate, and this is the...
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
This is the pivot going into it, right? So picture it, this is kind of exaggerated because it's massive, but picture it as the pivot pin has to touch the bottom of the pivot cup. So let's call this the pivot cup. So it has to touch the bottom of there, and it pivots around inside there, but it's held down by the pressure of the assembly here as well. So when you rock back and forth on your skates, it goes like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if that's sitting up there like that, and you're constantly, it's loose, and if you stood on this and that was loose, it would actually like rock back and forth inside your pivot.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, it's not meant to be kind of smashed or move around in that way. It acts more like a knuckle, right? It acts more like something to...
So what happens to that tray? So the pivot cup breaks or snaps and you don't know.
Right.
So now it's gone.
So now it's gone. And then this is sitting up even higher than it was before. And it'll like smash against your plate, right? And it also bashes against the sides of your plate. And with an aluminum plate, eventually, if you don't notice it, it can wreck the retainer where the pivot cup goes. So it makes it impossible to actually repair the plate. So, important, pivot cups. So now we've got that all back together. I don't know if there was any questions or anything like that, but...
I want to know what it looks like when you put your weight and rock back and forth with your trucks the way, they're supposed to be. What does it look like? That's what I want to know.
All right, okay. Well...
Like, I mean, I can put on...
Yeah, why don't you put your... Oops. Why don't you put your skates on?
I'll put my red ones on. Okay. Okay.
Sorry, I was a little nervous there.
About what?
I don't know.
It's actually all of our friends are watching. Like, every single person that's watching right now is a friend.
Hi, friends.
So what I'll do then is when I put these on, I'll have you hold the camera and then you can see. So when you're adjusting your trucks, how do you know when you can, like, what's the first thing you always see when you get skates to repair? I don't know.
So a lot of people bring us in like their old skates, or they might have bought them off Kijiji. Someone might be selling their old Dominions or Rydels or whatever they're selling. Vintage, like we have a lot of skates we have a lot of skaters that skated in the 80s and then put their skates into the closet and are now starting to kind of come out and skate again. And you'll want to be careful of all those parts for sure. Because generally when we see a pair of skates that come in from someone's house, or they bought them off Kijiji or something like that, and they're 30 or 40 years old, you know, the pieces of rubber that used to be rubber and used to give them flexibility and everything like that turn into like hard pieces of plastic, basically. And as well as the toe stops and wheels and all sorts of stuff, right? It doesn't perform well. We all know, right? We get older, we all get older, and we don't perform as well as we used to. Or we can perform as well, just it takes a toll on us, right? So I think that's kind of what we got to look at for our skates. Anyway, we're going to show what Elaine's skates look like.
I'm going to have you hold the camera, and you tell me what you want me to do. I'll let's do front view and back view, maybe, if that helps, or side view as well. So,
all right. So let's see.
What do you want me to do?
Oh, I can't turn my phone with light.
No, you can't turn it around. So you can zoom in. If you hold it back, you can zoom in with your 2 fingers.
All right, so lean to one side. Yeah, see, it's hard to see.
I could probably do it 1 foot better.
You're wearing the wrong pants for this.
All right, I can pull my pants up.
So if you, no, I don't want to rotate my device. So if you see, so she has a 10-degree angle plate. So if you look at, like, the wheels move in and out a little, right? It's not a drastic amount. And, you know, with the 10-degree plate, I imagine you can do a lot of things you can't do with a 45-degree plate for sure. You know, it's very good for stability.
It's a good squeak.
They're squishy.
I got squishy ones. My wheels are 57 millimeter.
Yeah, so those are outdoor energy wheels. 78A, 57 millimeter.
How do I fix that squeak?
How do you fix that squeak? With a little bit of oil.
Where?
Put the oil on the inside of the cushion and or on the kingpin. Okay. When you put your cushion on.
So now I'm standing and putting my weight on it. So that's not really accurate. This is just sort of so I would maybe skate on this for a bit and then do some turning and decide whether or not that I should tighten or loosen. Mm-hmm. And how do I know if
you don't want to tighten too much, so a little bit of tightening will change your action for sure.
So that quarter turn, is that?
Yeah, you do quarter turn at a time. So if you find that...
Let's do back view.
Yeah, you can see how much you actually rock back and forth.
Trying to put all my pressure on it.
Yeah, no.
Without moving back and forth, it's really tough.
So in those widths, so if you could, here, lift up your skate for a second, or just the heel, so you can see that.
If you pull back and zoom in, you probably get blurry. There you go.
So she's got super soft cushions on there, by the way.
What is super soft? The softest? Like 78 or something?
Yeah, I think 78 is the softest you can get.
All right, I'll take that.
All right. So that's that. So maybe we'll get her to put on her Avengers here and see how they look.
Oh, okay.
When you squish back and forth.
Okay. You change the one set, or the one, right?
So the what was I going to say?
I don't know. That happens when you're almost 50. Fog brain.
So, yeah, you'll see a big difference. So if you're looking for ramp skating and park skating and stuff like that, everybody seems to recommend a 10-degree truck, as well as you're going to be able to fit, you're going to have a lot of stability with a 10-degree truck. Whereas, and as well, the park trucks that you buy will probably only fit into a 10-degree truck. I don't think there's any, correct me if I'm wrong, let me know if there is, but I don't think there are any park trucks that will go into like a 16 or 20-degree plate. So if you're looking for a park truck, probably go to a 10-degree plate. And this is great. This is a Reactor Neo plate. Fantastic plate for the park.
You pass me another seat, please.
These 45-degree ones are for Elaine's dance skating.
Those are my dance skate. Those other ones are my outdoor skates.
Skates for all occasions.
And then the park skate.
Of every color.
I'm not addicted.
It's called product testing.
That's right. I do a lot of product testing.
So I'm just going to take a look and see what.
What kind of tools do you like to use?
Yes.
Tools.
So if you get a plate like this, then you probably get a tool with it, or you should. But the common tools are the Y3 tool, and you can get the Y4 tool, which is for actually the Reactor series. So it has a larger, oh, look at the hair on the bottom of that. It's terrible. It has the Reactor size nut driver on it. It's got an Allen key, and it also does the wheel nuts. Okay, so.
Ready? Here, I'll come over there. Front view?
I think I just filmed your bum.
Uh-oh.
Sorry. Yeah, sure.
You're not sorry.
Okay. All right.
I'll have to stand it up and I'll come back. There you go.
Yeah, so there's a lot more movement there, even with her pants.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I got pants.
Even her pants are moving more. So, you know, you would think 10-degree, 45-degree, there'd be a massive, drastic difference. And it probably does feel, oh yeah, just a lot different.
Sorry, it's hard to get my balance and I'm not hanging on to anything, so it's really hard.
Did you want to hang on to something and try?
Yes, I'll roll up behind me, but you have to. Live video!
Yay!
Okay, I'm going to do the one here so I can lean on the sink.
Yeah, see, that's a lot more movement than the other one.
So when I do a turn on the floor, it's I get more action and less work on me physically, I guess you could say. Like it's easier for me to do a rotation or just a carving of the skate. So I get more carve.
Cool. Well, that's about it. I don't know if anybody.
The back view of that.
Yeah.
So trucks are really important. So as you become a better skater, would you say that you would want more of a looser skate or a tighter skate?
It all depends on what you're doing, I think.
Ah, I like that. So that's pretty good movement there.
Sounds like those are squishy too.
So if you're a new skater, is it better to be tighter? Hold on.
I don't know.
Hold on, let me put this back over here.
I think if you're a new skater, you're going to want something that has a little bit of flex, so that you can move around more freely.
Excellent direction.
So that you can move around more freely. Like you don't want them tightened down so tight that you're basically walking, and then when you want to turn, you have to lift your feet and turn, right?
Oh, okay.
So it gives you a bit of flexibility that it's more like almost skiing, right? So when you ski and you turn your body and you pivot to the one side, your skis are going to turn, right? Mm-hmm. So it's the same kind of idea. So you can carve with roller skates. You can kind of drift back and forth and just roll your feet over, and it'll turn you. And you just get used to that after a while, and the more you get used to it and the more you want to carve a little more, then maybe you go from a 10-degree plate to a 16-degree plate or a 20-degree plate.
Does anyone have any questions about your trucks in particular? Or if you have an idea of what topic we can talk about next time, we'd love to hear that too.
Yeah, I hope you found it informative. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to comment after we post it, I guess.
Or email, I guess.
Or email, yeah. You can email us at skate@retrorollers.ca. I think that's about it.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us. And we miss all you guys. And we hope to see you soon. And again, feel free to contact us. Reach us on Messenger even. We could video chat. That would be cool too.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.